everyone, it is Tammy, the creator and CEO and chief editor of the Mumpreneur Movement magazine. And for tonight's guest panel, I'm really excited to be sharing with you some extraordinary women who I have been so blessed to connect with and also share and showcase in this month's issue of the Mumpreneur Movement magazine, Thrive. It has been such an epic journey for all of us to become where we are today. We are known to challenges. We are women who've overcome extraordinary events, mindsets, beliefs, limiting beliefs, whether it's trauma, so many different things. And I know right now, as we navigate this unprecedented time with COVID and the world in turmoil, some people get really reactive to the word thrive. But we want to sort of debunk what thrive means and all bring different kinds of meanings and examples of what thrive means to all of us, because we're not here to say, if you're not thriving, you're not good enough. We're here to say that in whatever situation, if you are able to find that space within inside yourself or your life, you'll be able to reach this place that we all are seeking, where we can live with joy, love, and happiness in each and every day. So thank you so much, beautiful, amazing women, for coming here. I'd love to introduce you separately, individually, and then I would love for you to introduce or just say welcome. So thank you for being here. All right, so thank you. So first of all, we have Caroline Bellinger, who is a passionate life and fitness coach. She's a motivational speaker and creator of Be the Impossible courses. From childhood sexual abuse to over 20 years of addiction and mental health issues, Caroline finally got sober in 2009. Since then, Caroline has gone on to represent Australia in triathlon, climb to Everest Base Camp, complete an honours degree, compete in national surf saving events, have a successful corporate career, and currently operates a thriving fitness business. She achieved all this as a sole single parent while volunteering over 50 hours a year to various community organisations, including being an active surf lifesaver. She is passionate about inspiring women to reach their dreams, and she believes that if she can overcome significant life obstacles, then any woman given support and encouragement can also achieve the impossible. Her life purpose is to help others find fulfillment and happiness in their own lives. Welcome, Caroline.
Hey, thanks, Tammy.
Awesome. Next, we have the amazing Brianna Seaton, who I have had the immense pleasure of getting to know over the last year. And she is a mother, an entrepreneur, author, speaker, and coach. She is a woman of many talents who is dedicated to helping you become your best self. Brianna became an entrepreneur from a very early age and now co-owns and manages a multi-million-dollar business with her team and her husband in the Victorian High Country. Brianna is a mother to two beautiful children who she believes has taught us some of life's more important lessons. She is a well-respected businesswoman in her region and has won multiple business accolades because of her ability to take something ordinary and make it extraordinary. She is well known for her positive outlook, as well as her tenacity to overcome any challenge thrown her way. Brianna has inspired the lives of hundreds of women through her speaking, successful coaching business, and her thriving networking group, Women in the Northeast. WINE. What a great name. Through the power of life coaching, she supports women to realize and work towards their goals and aspirations to create greater balance and achieve the results they are seeking in both their personal and professional lives, where she shares her principles in the 3 B's: begin, believe, become. Welcome, Brianna.
Thank you. What a welcome. Jeez, I sound amazing.
I know. I love reading these out every time because, just to, it's sort of an overview, isn't it, of your life, what you've been able to overcome to achieve. It's amazing.
Thank you.
And last but not least, the Divine Joy Alchemist, Radzi Chug, and who is a joy alchemist and leads the Fueled by Joy revolution. She is an intuitive healer, Koya movement teacher, and coach. Radzi works with women across the globe to support them in feeling joyful in their bodies. Radzi's work revolves around empowering women to create that life that feels good to them. She is passionate about supporting women to create a strong, transparent, and committed relationship with themselves. Fueled by Joy is an idea that allows women to plant the seeds of their dreams and visions into the joy-filled landscape of their lives, minds, hearts, and bodies. Radzi believes in 3 factors to thrive, and they include freedom to be who you want to be, confidence to be unapologetically you, and creativity to create in and from a place that feels true and good to you. Welcome, Radzi, and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for that amazing welcome. I'm so excited to be here today.
Oh, well, like, I'm seriously in the most amazing company to be discussing Thrive, because as you can see, beautiful listeners, like, these women have created something pretty epic in the world through their, you know, their struggles to overcome and to be who they are today. And I'd love for you beauties to share one at a time. We'll start with Brianna. What does thrive mean to you, especially in the day and age where people are trying to be the perfectionists and overachievers and things like that? What does the thrive mean to you?
Thank you. I think thrive to me is about being wholly me, whatever that looks like. It is about reaching out. My issue, I guess, in the past has been A-type personality, perfectionist, wanting to get everything perfect and all my ducks in a row before I could, you know, fully actually jump. And this is why I actually have begin, believe and become, because, you know, beginning for me was actually the hardest thing, and then believing in myself and my journey, and then becoming. And I couldn't fully thrive unless I was truly believing in myself. And so for me, it's actually about whoever you are, whatever it is that you do, just doing your best at it. I say often that I'm the clown. I'm juggling so many balls, and often those balls will land on the ground, and I'm okay with that now. I wasn't, but I am now. And I think that's part of thriving, is actually understanding that it's okay to not be okay, and that you still can be your whole self and your beautiful self and do the best you possibly can. And to me, that is just about that is thriving in itself. It's not just surviving, it's just accepting who you are for what you are and knowing that you're enough.
Amazing. I truly love that. And I think that's the key to that, is believing that you truly are enough, because when you own that, there's nothing that you can, you can't do. There's nothing, because you just have that ability to believe in yourself to achieve what's right for you. So thank you so much for sharing that. Caroline, I'd love for you to share.
Yeah, I think for me, my hair disappeared. Thriving is, it's that joy from within, like, that just makes you smile at life. Like, for, you know, so I find, like, and it's like gratitude, like where I can just look out at my cat or outside or at the beach and just feel this inner joy. And I think Brianna touched on it. It's so different for everyone. You know what? For some people to thrive, they need money. For some people, they need relationships. For some people, they need solitude. Other people need big groups of people. And they're all thriving if that's what's for them. And I think we get really careful of pigeonholing what definitions are through life. And, you know, media is a good example of that. Like, it often will say, you know, at the moment, probably to thrive is you have to be a successful, you know, the old feminist thing that I think I wrote in my article, like, you know, back when you had to be a great mom, a great career, a great wife, and great at your housework all in one. But, you know, very few of those women were actually thriving. They were struggling. They hit the definition of what society said thrive was, but within they didn't have that joy. So I think it's finding whatever it is within you that just makes you smile, makes you wake up and smile. And, you know, and some days, yeah, you have a bad day, and that's okay. Well, you know, life isn't perfect. None of us are perfect. So we can thrive on bad days just as well as we can on good days, because that's life.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think it's the whole thing about finding a word, like, even where like for mompreneurs, for instance, people either love or hate it, but you know what it is, right? So, but I've also created my own definition for mompreneur. And that's like the same thing for thrive, abundance, joy. We all get to be the ones who define what that word means for us, and not having to look outside of us to try and compare or compete with another person who says that they're thriving as well. So I love that. So thank you so much, Caroline. That was a really beautiful explanation. And I know that Radzi also has some amazing thoughts about what thrive means. So Radzi, would you like to share?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. So taking on what Brianna and Caroline shared, I want to share this idea that whenever people hear the word thrive, they feel pressure because it means being something they're not. It means being in a place where they're not. And the fact that if one is thriving, they have to be in a different space from where they are in this moment, because they're not able to experience thriving in the moment where they are fully present in the now. So when I share about thrive and my idea of thriving, it's this concept of you don't have to be anybody else. You don't have to be any place else, and you don't have to be with anyone else, because thriving is a very inward space. It's not an outward thing at all. It's not about what your outside environment looks like. It's about what your inner landscape looks like, which is why I talk about that joyfulness and planting the seed in the joyful landscape of your being, because that's how I see thriving is an inward connection to yourself. And people think, well, what do I need to thrive? And I say, well, you need you. That's all you need. You don't need anything else. You don't need to be anyplace else. You just need you. And the unfortunate truth is that through our journeys, a lot of the times we've just gone very far away from ourselves, and we're just living in other people's shadow, and we're trying to accommodate, adjust, compromise. And in the whole process, we have moved far, far away from our center. And that's why thriving looks so tough, because it seems like I have to do something so remarkably different than what I'm doing right now or who I am right now. And the truth is, it's actually the simplest thing you can do. And that's come back to yourself and be with yourself and turn that gaze inward. So that's how I see thriving and how I connect with it.
Oh my God, like seriously, the descriptions that you've all brought is what, you know, what we hear about, like the mompreneur movement is to do life, business, and motherhood differently, right? This is what we're here to do, is show a different way of being. And if you have been in that space when someone says, if you're thriving on success, whatever, you know, you've really attached to, that it's the stress and pressure you have to achieve and do and be. But if we look at the real feminine way of thriving, it is a more gentle flow approach. Yes, we have to bring in the masculine and balance it, definitely, but we have the ability to really look at what is true for us. And we are an amazing, incredible, intuitive being. And I love that you bring that up too, Radzi, about it's all about going within, because you don't need anything without to achieve this space. And I don't even want to say achieve, but it's to find that space within you. And this is where I want to ask, like for me, for years, I was always trying to succeed, trying to push and force and make it happen. And my adrenals, my health were always being compromised because I was always trying to do things that didn't feel good to me because I thought I had to from the advice or, you know, competing and comparing and all that kind of stuff. But as I've seen, like, have slowed down and started finding that real beautiful way of my life that works for me, things and beautiful experiences and all that are unfolding. And I'd love for you to share that too. So have you experienced, Caroline, that forcing and that, you know, trying to achieve and do all the time, to now, especially since COVID, you've had that ability to slow down? How's that felt for you, especially, like, is it a result to achieve that experience, that sense of thriving in your life?
Yeah, so for me, like, obviously when COVID came, like, I had to close my gym. So my business was just shut down, and I've got to stay off Facebook at the moment because, like, I'm a bit cranky. But because, like, everything else is opening except gyms, which is crazy because for me, to get people to thrive, like, physical activity for mental health is why I promote and have my gym. But people can't come and see me but now apparently they can go to the pub and get drunk with 50 of their mates in New South Wales, but they still can't come and do a one-on-one PT. So for me, like, COVID's had, like, lots of different, you know, challenges, but I've also taken a really positive, because while my gym was being closed down, I focused on other stuff. So, you know, I've been doing more of my online courses, focusing more on my coaching, realizing that I was just way too busy before. Busy all the time. I now ocean swim 2 mornings a week at 6:30, and I'm loving it. And I'm not a swimmer, but I have already decided, part of me thriving is how I feel. And I let that go by the wayside because I was so rushed and so busy trying to fit everything in that I've had a complete pivot on how I'm going to open my gym when it does open. I'm already putting things in place so that I can still ocean swim twice a week, because that's really important to me. And I think, and I get it from a lot of people, like, we didn't realize how busy we were. And we, like I said, we sometimes think that was thriving until we've been forced to look at our life. And thriving, goes back to what we said, like, is being true to yourself. Being at peace with yourself is thriving. And most people thrive when they're doing less than when they're doing more. So yeah, for me, this is all raised. It's been such a wonderful journey. I've loved, like I said, other than the cold weather now, I've loved COVID for that. I've slowed right down, but I've got more done that is of value and quality for me. So yeah,
that resonates so deeply, and because that's the thing, we were into a forced hibernation, whereas a lot of the world has never ever experienced this in the slightest. And not everyone has experienced it, but a lot of people have. And I found that a lot of women that I am connected to, Facebook, everywhere, you know what I mean, the messages that I get, they didn't know how to be at home by themselves or in that space, because they had to homeschool and do all that kind of stuff as well. And they felt that they were not even surviving, like so many were going under. But as soon as they started finding their flow, like, and what worked for them and their family, going against what, everyone told them to do, that's when you could start seeing their lives starting to change, and that their energy changed and their outlook and their posts and all that kind of stuff, because they started seeing what they needed. And again, not everyone, a lot of these people that I know have, but they started to see the signs or show the signs of thriving. And I'd love for you to share too, Brianna, because you're a stay-at-home mum with 2 beautiful kids, doing business and juggling all the things. How have you found that experience for you and finding that flow for you?
Well, I guess for me, it actually started out, I was really thriving straight out. And I thought, wow, why are all these people struggling? I didn't get it, to be honest. Our businesses were still going well. And, we went into school holidays 1 week earlier. I was like, yeah, no big deal. We were homeschooling, but we weren't. We were just being us. We live on 10 acres and just enjoying our time together as a family. And then things started to build up inside of me, and I thought, it's this weird feeling that I'm getting, and I didn't understand what it was, but it was familiar. And I remember this moment of standing in my kitchen, holding onto my kettle whilst I was making a cup of tea and going, I'm holding my breath. Why am I holding my breath? And then this realization of, oh my goodness, this has brought me back to after my first daughter was born and I had postnatal depression. I'd had an emergency cesarean. We live, as I said, on 10 acres. We're a little bit out of town in Mansfield, and it was cold. It was too far to walk into town. And I didn't realize at the time that I had depression. And I was getting this feeling of tightness in the chest and this weight on my shoulders. And then I started having a racing heart, and all these things started to build up. And eventually I was diagnosed with postnatal depression and anxiety, and I was having panic attacks. And this started coming back to me with COVID. And it was about that loss of freedom, that loss of connection, that loss of me being able to just step out the door and go and grab, a coffee or whip down to the supermarket with the children. I couldn't do that. I had to wait for somebody else to, my husband to get home to look after kids so I could go into the supermarket and, be the sacrificial lamb that, sterilize everything. But it was amazing how I thought I dealt really well. Like I'd sought help and, I thought I'd stripped off that superhero cape and left it well behind. But it's incredible how these things come up inside of us, and we realize that some things you don't heal from, I believe, but I think we learn how to move through them or around them or with them, whatever that might look like for you. And And I also learned in that time to prioritize, to actually, you know, self-care is so important, but as a mum, and I've got younger kids, that you do sacrifice yourself a lot for them. You have to, you know, when they are little, they can't fend for themselves. And it becomes this habit that you then just keep prioritizing. And when I realized I was having what I call my ISO meltdown, and after being so high and then hitting this real low and being quite surprised, you know, with such a good mindset and meditating daily and grounding myself and all these things, I was like, how did I end up back here? But what I realized is that it actually hadn't been fully dealt with back then. And I'm really grateful for that experience, and that I can share that with other people and let them know that it's absolutely normal what's going on for them. And then I've been able to, you know, share this with my clients and various other people to help them move through a similar situation. So yeah, I guess, and you know, I'm coming back out of it. I've now created a whole new business and all these other things that I'm doing.
And so that's the thing, isn't it? Is that because you've achieved that space of thriving before, you know what it feels like and how to feel and experience it. So even though you're going through, and what you were journeying through your ISO meltdown, as you said, was, or breakdown, sorry, not meltdown. But do you know what I mean? Like, now do you feel that it's so much, it's still there, you can still, you know, experience that within yourself, or, you know what I mean? How does that feel for you?
I guess for me, I'm someone who likes to explore. I need to understand why things are the way they are, because I like to educate myself and learn, and from that grow, and then be able to share that with others. My passion is sharing through my story. And so for me, it felt awful at the time, but I had to sit in that feeling of awfulness and understand it and ride through it, and I'm not the most patient person. This is told to me very often, and I know this is part of my journey through life, is to just understand that I have to sit in something, feel it, experience it, and allow myself to gently move through it, and then be able to share that with others, how I've coped, and hopefully, you know, that resonates a little bit with them, that, you know, I can offer them some sort of support.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing it. It just is so powerful when a woman is willing to share those parts that, you know, not many people will show, because they're fearful of being judged or being less than, and not that perfect superwoman hero that we always think that we had to be, but now understanding that that's never achievable and not something we want. So thank you so much for sharing.
Pleasure.
And Radzi, I know that ISO has been such an amazing experience for you, and your posts have just been extraordinary about, you know, rediscovering yourself. And, you know, I want you to share a bit, because I could tell, like, I've been watching you and, you know, following your beautiful posts, because they're just so inspiring. But would you love to share what this time has meant for you, and how's that, you know, contributed to you thriving or not thriving?
Wow. So when we had this quarantine or lockdown happen in India, I was set to go on a 3-week trip to the US. I was teaching at a Koya retreat. I had photography sessions planned for myself, which were 3 years in the making. My whole 3-week trip was 3 years in the making of meeting amazing women, doing my soul work, connecting, laughing, living. And suddenly all of that just came to a halt. Everything got canceled, everything got postponed. It was not happening. And so this time actually gave me the opportunity to be present with myself. And I just want to share one thing, that while I was processing this, because there was disappointment, and I'm not gonna lie that I totally breezed through, and there was disappointment, because I was like I wish it would have gone through. And then someone in my family, they said, Radzi, you talk about joyfulness and you talk about all of this, and look at you not being able to rise from this disappointment, or from this, break, or, this thing that didn't happen. And I think a lot of women face that, is that, we're not allowed to process emotion. We're not allowed to process how we're feeling, and I said that with so much love to that person. I said, just because I embody joyfulness does not take away from the fact that I also embody all other emotions that are present in the human spectrum. And so I think that especially in this COVID time and in this time of being at home and being with yourself, I think it's an opportunity to embrace all of who you are, because each one of us has gone through a wide spectrum of emotions, like both Brianna and Caroline have shared, and that there is nothing wrong, and it doesn't take away from who you are. It doesn't take away from the powerhouse that you are. It doesn't take away from that brilliant woman that you are. And so for me, my journey then became one of expressing that, you know, how one can go through different emotions, and it does not take away from the fact that you're a brilliant, powerful, fantastic, radiant, magnificent woman. And so through the last 2 months for me here in India, I've discovered the sharing of this. And I really feel that, you know, when we're put in different circumstances, it evokes different responses. This has never happened to any one of us ever before. And therefore, how each one of us has responded to this has shown us different aspects of who we are, things we would have never discovered about ourselves ever, because this circumstance is so unique that it has brought up these unique, you know, flashes of this is you and this is also you, and you can feel this and you can also feel this. And so I've just, you know, it's just about embracing and wholeness and bringing it all together. So that's sort of how I have taken this time of just, you know, it's how do I share this? It's like, you know a little bit about yourself and you bring that into wholeness, and then more things happen, and then you wrap your arms around those and you bring that into wholeness, and then more things happen. And so this is how I see this time. Then more things happened and more things about you were revealed to you, so you wrap your arms a little wider so you can hug and envelop those things and sort of come into a deeper sense of wholeness and wellness and love for yourself. So that's how I see this time and how I've personally moved through it.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that, because it truly is. I love Caroline's cat coming up to say hello. But it is this thing that women aren't used to doing any of that, of connecting within, of being willing and aware of, you know, their feelings and emotions. So much is about suppressing. But I guess, you know, we could talk about this for so long, about, you know, women opening up and feeling themselves and feeling, touching, loving, you know, expressing all those kinds of things. Because for me, like, this ISO has given that time. Like, I feel like I've never loved myself or my family as much as I ever have before, because I've gone into vulnerability. I've gone into all these different spaces. And now, yeah, this love that I have for my life and everything has just been amazing. And again, it doesn't mean that I've been like, oh, life is just great the whole time, but it means that I've been able to experience it in my own way. And it's not right or wrong, neither is anyone else's right or wrong, but it's this ability to see what works for us and to start navigating towards our inner compass that is telling us, you know, how to navigate and to go within and seek those answers and all that kind of stuff. That is really important, because if you want that life that you've always dreamed of, or that vision, it's you who's going to help you get there, because it's your vision. Like, no one else they can support you and help you with steps, but it's you who's got to make the work and take the steps to get there. So Caroline, I would love for you to share, beautiful. Can you share some tips or some tools or techniques that could help someone who's struggling or feeling that they're really, you know, just surviving right now? What could you help a woman who would say, if you could give me a couple tips to help me thrive, what would that be? Even though they do know it themselves, but you know, learning different things.
My first tip is always, well, not always, but one of my major tips is exercise. And whatever that exercise looks like for you, whether it's meditation, whether it's walking, whether it's pumping iron, going for a run, whatever, it doesn't really matter. And I think people get too caught up in that it's got to be a certain exercise. There's nothing, you know, and biologically it's going to help your thought patterns, your emotions, everything. So you've got that. But I think, and for me, it's outdoors. If I'm talking about like trying to change my mindset or change my emotions, then exercise outdoors is always a little bit more successful for me than indoors, because then you're in touch with nature as well. So if you can combine those two things, it actually doesn't take long to change how you feel. Like it can be like 5 minutes of walking outdoors can be an almost transformation. So yeah, that's, you know, if I think the second one would be perspective. And I think everyone's got a story and everyone's been through extraordinarily difficult things in their life at some point, you know, or relative to the point in their life. I think sometimes we have to look at that and go, hey, I actually did survive that, as traumatic as it seemed at the time. Here I am, and I've achieved all these wonderful things along the way. And then on top of that, there's the perspective of, I like to take a very global look on things, and especially Australia, if, you know, we're extraordinarily lucky. And I think we need to, like, you know, understand that gratitude. And anyone, anywhere, like, there's always gratitude. And gratitude is what gets me through good days and bad days. And I try and see gratitude in everything I do. And then it just takes that pressure off. If you can, like, just smile at one thing, and it might be tiny, it doesn't have to be big things. You just be, like, grateful for, you know, that cup of tea, that warm cup of tea on a cold day. And that, it might be as simple as that, but that thought pattern of being grateful just changes your world. So yeah, if there's just little steps and little things to do, and don't put the pressure on yourself.
Thank you so much. They're simple yet so very powerful, especially if practiced with commitment and love and discipline. Discipline in the most loving way, but consistency. And, you know, like you're very consistent with your practices, and it shows because you're always showing others, you know, this is the role modeling, this is how I do it, and your life is reflecting that. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
Awesome. Brianna, I'd love for you to share some tools, techniques, or tips, Judy, that might assist or support another woman.
So I guess for me, the first thing I would say, particularly with having children, is that they thrive on routine. So for me, it was setting a new routine. It was a new normal. Yeah, it didn't look like what it used to look like. We had to adapt, but it was that routine that we started to develop as our new normal. So that's probably my biggest tip. If you've got children, just keep on the routine, whatever that looks like, just keep it steady. The second thing I used a lot of, and I always have, but I really ramped it up during COVID for my mindset, was meditation. I'll meditate most mornings and always before bed, but I was meditating sometimes 3, 4, 5 times a day. When I'd come into the office, there was a lot going on. You know, I was trying to support a lot of people in my team emotionally and, you know, reassuring people a lot of the time. It was very draining. My coaching clients had businesses that were failing. There was people who couldn't continue working with me because they couldn't afford it. There was a lot going on, and I had to, every time I'd feel myself start to escalate and get a little bit overwhelmed, I put on a meditation. I also, before I got home, I would be doing a meditation in the car, and even just sit in our carport for a few minutes before I walked in the house, so that I could just not wipe the day, but try and let go of what was that energy, and give my whole self, my presence, you know, just be in that moment with my children and husband, and just give my whole self to them and my best self. The other thing that I use is when I do start to escalate, I do have anxiety, and I manage it very well through power of the breath and the meditation, but grounding, oh my goodness, it is such a quick way. Where I'm in my office right now, there's a median strip in the middle over the road there, and it's quite a busy road either side, but I'd whip off my shoes and I'd duck across the road, and I would just be walking on the grass. I didn't care what I looked like. I'm in a small town, everybody knows me, and they'd be thinking, what on earth is she doing? But I needed just to bring that level back down, and I know how effective it is to just walk barefoot on the earth and to breathe deep and down into my belly rather than up high and into my shoulders. And for me, that was a really quick way to just come back to nature, get down to earth, and just be okay with where I was at. And I guess sit in that emotion as well, like I spoke about, not trying to fight that emotion, understand it, but also just sit in it and allow yourself to be in it. And a couple of other things, I guess, is just continuing connections. I'm someone who builds energy from connecting with people. Others introvert and, you know, and get their energy back by being away from people. I was mindful of those people and allowing them that space as well. My husband actually draws his energy from being away. I'm the one who needs to be around people, talk to people, communicate with people. And what was the other? Oh, gratitude. Daily gratitude, Caroline. Absolutely, 100%. It is something I do with my children every night when I hop into bed, like lie down next to them in bed, and we have a little snuggle. We talk about the day, and we always talk about minimum three things that we're grateful for. And when I first started practicing this with them, you know, it was very materialistic. It was, you know, oh, I got a chocolate biscuit today, or whatever it was. Now they talk about, you know, having a nice warm bed and, you know, really deeper things that I'm like, wow, where does my 5 and 7 year old come out with these things? Actually, no, they're 6 and 8 now. And they've just had birthdays. Bad mum. So I guess for me, you know, a lot of things, but that routine, particularly with little children, meditation to help your mindset, grounding yourself, power of the breath. I know these are hundreds of things, but these are all the things I use daily. And just, yeah, practicing gratitude, just being and feeling the gratitude, not just saying things, but actually feeling what it's like is, I'm very into my gut, like very intuitive like that. And often people will say, oh, but what did I say? And I'm like, I don't know what you said. It was how you made me feel at the time, whether that was, you know, a negative or a positive thing. It's just how you made me feel. So really feeling that gratitude, I think, is phenomenal if you can do that.
Amazing. Such beautiful tips again. And what I love, I'll wait to Radzi actually, but thank you so much. And I'll get Radzi to share your tips, you know, hints, techniques and tools that might help another woman.
Awesome. So I actually am very much aligned with so much that both the ladies have shared, especially with movement. As a choir teacher, I dance to one song every single day. And I actually had the opportunity to invite other women to join in with me. So do one thing that you love every single day for yourself. Second tip, do one thing that you love doing for someone else every single day. Because I really believe that being of value, being able to serve is something that really allows us to feel good within ourselves. So when we're able to create impact, when we're able to bring value to another person's life, whether it's your partner, your kids, your parents, in my example, it just brings a lot of wellness and well-being within me. So my tips would be, do one thing that you love for yourself every single day. Do one thing that you love for someone else every single day. And in doing that, you offer yourself love and you offer people around you love. And that's how I groove, and of course the movement.
Amazing. And I've actually seen some of your videos as well, because like I said, I see a lot of all your stuff, like Caroline and Brianna's as well. But I love that the other morning you said that usually, you know, when you wake up, you think that for your first movement, it'd be something pretty fast and energetic, but you were doing this really slow. And, you know, it's really changing the mindset of people that you have to push and do and hard, you know, go hard. My morning practices really consists of just stretching my body in a way like a cat, or what feels good to me, to beautiful music, and then going on a horse ride out in nature with my whole family. They ride their motorbike, they run, or they ride a horse, whatever it is they do. But this has like got me out in nature every single day, and I thanks so much for this opportunity for me to see how important this was for me and how I wasn't prioritizing that. And I see every one of you women experiencing the same, that you didn't realize that these practices that you had before were instrumental in you being healthy, you know, in that space of thriving, or, you know, being able to fill up your cup. Because before that, we were just so busy, not everyone, but I see layers. Like now we've gone deeper into our practices, and we're sitting into these things that we're loving and we're doing. And so as we come back out of this shell, this you know, this hibernation, we see how good these things feel for ourselves. And it's up to us to continue this, because I know that in times throughout this where I've got busy, my husband said, "Are you coming for a ride this morning?" I'm like, "Oh no, I've got work on." I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's a no-no." Because the thing is, if we nurture and nourish ourselves every single day, like you beauties has shared, in whatever way feels good, whether it is gratitude, moving your body in a different way that feels good for you, you know, practicing and meditating, whatever it is, but doing that consistently fills you up to be able to show up in a way that is sustainable. Because how often do women get burnt out because they're over self-sacrificing or overdoing and overgiving because they're so empty inside themselves. So for me, if anything, like to thrive is to choose oneself, to prioritize our needs and to fill up our cup every single day so we can show up in a way, whether it is just, you know, not just, but as a mum, as a wife, as a lover, as a friend, as a sister, as a daughter, as a business owner, as a worker, whatever way it is, that it's a way that is so good for us because we've looked after ourselves, and we can look in that mirror and go, I love you, I'm thankful for you, and you know, live this life that we're all meant to live, the most magical, empowered, joyful, you know, the way that we possibly can. So beauties, you've really helped, you know, create this space of redefining what thrive is, because it looks so different for all of us. And my hope is that whoever watches this, that they know that they can experience this if they choose to do that work within, connect with their needs, desires, dreams, and follow and listen to that intuition. Because as women, we have that strong ability and we have the endless possibilities if we're willing to choose so. So thank you so much, Caroline. Thank you, Brianna. Thank you, Radzi. You all are so phenomenal women. And if people would like to connect with you, I'd just like you to quickly shout out where the best way to find you. Brianna?
BriannaSeaton.com is the easiest. I've got a contact form on there, or just follow me on Facebook or Instagram.
Awesome. Caroline?
It's carolinebellinger.com is my website, Facebook, Insta, all under that, or Epic Pro Fitness. Or you could go on and buy the Empowered Women Empowering the World book. That would be a great idea.
Plug. And Radzi, what about you, beauty?
You can find me on Facebook and Instagram under my name, Radzi Chugh. Yeah.
Awesome. And one thing before we leave, I'd like to share that both Caroline and Radzi have movement videos in YouTube and different kind of subscriptions and programs as well. Brianna definitely helps with the mindset, life, business. And these other two, Caroline and Radzi, have really beautiful, completely different, but depends on what you're feeling called to, movements that really are so beautiful. And I'm going to say feminine because it's more of that what feels good for you, not pushing yourself too hard, and really trusting yourself as you navigate their program. So make sure to reach out to them if you're still unsure on how to move your body, because it is imperative. Like, you know, I'm going to share this really random thing but you know, animals like horses, they usually live to about 25, right, 30 max. But my nan, she has horses up to 40 plus years old because they've ridden up to 3 days a week, every week for the whole lifespan. So, you know, imagine if we did that. Like, we work ourselves every, you know, 3 days or 5 days or 7 days, but what feels good for you. And imagine the longevity we'd have, the energy we'd have, the love we'd have, the, you know, all these good things that come from being out in nature, from being in your body and trusting yourself, and believe that you can thrive even regardless of the situations around you. So thank you, beautiful women. I love you all so much, and I can't wait to share more of what you do and with the world.
Yeah. Thank you, Tammy. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.